Look around you right now. Focus on a single object in your immediate vicinity. It could be the device you're looking at, the chair supporting your weight, or even the physical hand you use to interact with this world. Press your fingers against a nearby surface. Notice the resistance, notice the texture. It feels undeniably solid, does it not? It feels fixed, immutable, real. But what if I told you that the very sensation of solidity beneath your fingertips is the grandest optical illusion ever orchestrated? You are not touching solid matter. You have never touched solid matter in your entire existence. When you press your hand against a table, what you are actually experiencing is a localized repulsion of electromagnetic fields. It is simply invisible energy pushing against invisible energy, creating a phantom sensation of a hard boundary. The physical reality you navigate every single day, the heavy, dense world that sometimes feels overwhelmingly rigid, is overwhelmingly empty. If we were to strip away the vast, empty space within the atoms of every single human being on this planet, all 8 billion of us, the actual physical matter left behind would be so infinitesimally small that the entire human race could fit perfectly inside the volume of a single sugar cube. Everything else is just empty space, a silent, waiting void. Yet you perceive a dense, heavy world. You feel the gravitational pull of a reality that demands to be taken seriously. You have felt the deep, subtle ache in your chest when the density of this physical realm feels like too much to bear. That quiet, persistent whisper in the back of your mind is not a sign of confusion. It is your deeper awareness recognizing the glitch. It is your consciousness sensing that the walls of this reality are painted on. Have you ever experienced a moment where a perfectly ordinary object suddenly felt alien? A split second where time seemed to stutter, or a profound flash of déjà vu that made the air around you feel thick and electric. You brush it off as a trick of the mind, a moment of fatigue, but it is not a trick. That is a glitch in the holographic matrix. That is the simulation briefly showing its seams. We have been conditioned to believe that the universe is a giant, mechanical clockwork of heavy rocks, predetermined paths, and unyielding physical laws. We are taught that we are small, fragile entities, wandering through a massive, cold and solid world that happens to us. But quantum physics, the very science of the microscopic fabric of reality, has already proven that the old way of thinking is a complete fiction. The universe is not a machine. It is a vast, shimmering ocean of pure potential, waiting to be shaped. You are walking through a holographic projection, a highly sophisticated light show rendered in real time by your own consciousness. The chair, the room, the walls around you, they do not exist in a fixed, permanent state when you are not interacting with them. They are swirling clouds of probability, existing only as waves of endless possibility in a hidden dimension. They are waiting. They are waiting for you. The physical world is not a heavy blanket thrown over your life. It is a responsive, fluid mirror. The profound weight you sometimes feel in your soul comes from mistakenly believing that the mirror is made of stone. But the moment you realize that the glass is entirely liquid, the existential pressure begins to dissolve. You are not a victim of a solid, immovable reality. You are the architect walking through a lucid dream that forgot it was dreaming. If everything around you is just empty space and hovering energy, then what exactly causes that energy to suddenly snap into place? What forces this invisible, limitless potential to suddenly freeze into the solid shapes, the rigid timelines, and the physical experiences you encounter every single day? The answer to that question holds the absolute mastery of your existence. The physical world is not projecting itself onto you. You are projecting yourself onto it. And the moment you realize what happens when you simply direct your gaze at this empty space, the moment you understand the sheer, world-bending power of your own observation, the rules of this hologram will completely change. When you finally direct your gaze into that empty space, a monumental separation occurs within your perception. You must understand that there are two profoundly distinct entities operating within you at this very moment, and confusing one for the other is the root of all the existential friction you have ever experienced. There is the analytical mind, and there is the true observer. For your entire life, you have been desperately trying to alter your reality using the wrong instrument. You have been relying entirely on the analytical mind. This part of your cognitive structure is loud. It is frantic, and it is entirely trapped in the past. Its only function is to process the sensory data that has already been rendered into the three-dimensional world. It looks at the physical environment, calculates the distance between objects, measures the density of the walls, and tries to figure out how to push them, move them, or break them down through sheer physical effort. It relies on friction, on pushing against the immense perceived weight of the world. And this is precisely why you have felt an overwhelming sense of powerlessness when facing the vastness of your own life. You have been trying to alter a majestic holographic architecture by wrestling with the holograms themselves. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in a grand, dimly lit cinema. On the massive screen in front of you, a complex, overwhelming movie is playing. It is the overarching narrative of your current reality. The scenes unfolding on that screen might appear chaotic, restrictive, or deeply unsatisfying to your spirit. Now imagine standing up from your seat, walking straight to the front of the theater, and aggressively scratching at the fabric of the screen with your fingernails. Imagine trying to physically rip the canvas, hoping that by tearing the flat surface, you will somehow change the plot of the film, rearrange the characters, and force a new ending. You would look entirely absurd, would you not? You would be bleeding your energy dry, completely ignoring the fact that the images are not originating from the screen itself. The screen is just a dead, flat surface reflecting light. This is exactly what humanity has been doing for centuries. Every time you try to force a change in your reality through physical action alone, every time you push against the solid world, hoping it will yield to your frustration, you are violently scratching at the movie screen. You are ignoring the projector booth entirely. The true projection booth is located in the absolute, pristine silence of your own mind. It is occupied by the true observer. This is the eternal, silent witness within you, the supreme consciousness that does not think, does not calculate, and does not struggle against the density of matter. It simply watches. But its gaze is not passive. Its gaze is the very engine of cosmic creation. The true observer holds the unimaginable power to alter the geometry of light before it ever hits the screen of reality. When you shift your identity away from the loud, calculating, analytical mind and slip into the quiet vastness of the observing self, you stop fighting the images on the screen. You simply turn around, walk away from the heavy illusion, and enter the projector room. You change the light itself. The sheer magnitude of this pure consciousness is terrifying to the logical brain. The analytical ego is tiny, fragile, and obsessed with the illusion of control. It wants to touch, to measure, to force the universe into submission through continuous effort. When you begin to awaken to the supremacy of the true observer, the analytical ego feels incredibly small. It realizes its own profound uselessness in the grand, sweeping mechanics of creation. And that is exactly what must happen. You must let the logical, calculating mind surrender. Let it bow to the staggering, silent power of your true awareness. The true observer does not need to lift a single physical finger to bend the universe to its will. It only needs to hold a frequency of truth, and the holographic architecture of the entire world must immediately contort, shift, and rearrange itself to reflect that new internal light. The physical environment you are standing in right now is nothing more than a delayed echo. It is the exhaust fumes of a projection that has already happened in the unseen realms. The three-dimensional world is infinitely slower than the speed of your consciousness. By the time an event solidifies into matter, by the time it becomes something you can physically touch or see with your human eyes, it is already ancient history. It is a rigid fossil of your past attention. To try and change the present physical reality by manipulating the physical objects within it is a cosmic paradox. It is the ultimate discrepancy of the observer. You cannot rewrite a script that has already been printed by attacking the paper it is written on. You must return to the mind of the author. Let us go deeper into the absolute stillness of this projection room. Feel the profound difference between the frantic energy of trying to manipulate the movie and the majestic calm of directing it from above. The analytical mind categorizes, it judges, it constantly measures distance and time. always calculating how much physical effort is required to move a heavy object from one point to another. It believes the world is a series of solid obstacles that must be overcome through sheer willpower and physical exertion. But in the realm of pure observation, distance and time are rendered completely irrelevant. Effort is a myth. There is only the instantaneous alignment of the observer and the observed. Think about the immense energy you have expended throughout your existence, arguing with the shadows on the wall. Think about the countless hours spent analyzing the texture of the screen, wondering why it would not bend to your desires, feeling a deep, suffocating powerlessness as the same scenes played out on an endless loop. That powerlessness was an illusion born of a fundamental misunderstanding of the universe's mechanics. You were never powerless. You were simply applying your infinite power in the wrong direction. You were pouring your divine energy into the dense, frozen layer of reality rather than the fluid, formless realm where all reality is born. The supremacy of the observer lies in the absolute mastery of withdrawal. It is the profound ability to look at a terrifying, unyielding physical circumstance and completely withdraw your belief in its solidity. It is the radical act of refusing to validate the screen. When you stop feeding the hologram with your frantic reaction, when you stop fighting the projection, you starve it of the very light that sustains its existence. The grand, sweeping geometry of the universe is not built by physical labor or the friction of matter against matter. It is constructed entirely by the silent, invisible architecture of focused awareness. The moment you step back into the projector booth of your own mind, the frantic noise of the three-dimensional world begins to fade into insignificance. The overwhelming density of your physical circumstances suddenly feels as thin and fragile as paper. You realize that the universe has never once resisted you. It has only ever reflected your own insistence on using the wrong tool. Let the analytical mind rest. Let the ego drop its heavy, useless weapons. The war against matter is a phantom conflict. The era of the silent observer has begun, and the screen is waiting for your new projection. Look closely at the architecture of a single, ordinary moment in your life. When you look at your surroundings and believe that they are absolute, you are experiencing the universe in its most restricted, collapsed form. Science refers to this condition as the particle state. I want you to imagine a towering, magnificent waterfall. Now imagine that entire rushing force of nature, instantly frozen solid into thick, unyielding ice. The water is still there. The sheer potential for movement remains hidden inside, but it is locked. It is forced into a singular, rigid shape. It is heavy, it is cold, it is completely, stubbornly predictable. This is precisely what happens to the boundless, vibrating energy of the cosmos when you observe it with a rigid, expecting mind. You freeze the waterfall. You take the endless, flowing code of reality and you force it into a static, heavy block of matter. Every time you wake up and assume that today will be an exact, literal copy of yesterday, you are casting a gaze of stone. You are quietly demanding that the universe remain in a state of absolute density. This is the particle. This is the matrix of the mundane. In this dense state, everything requires immense effort. Moving forward feels like dragging a massive weight across gravel. You are dealing with a reality that has already been solidified. The cosmic code has been written, printed and bound in heavy covers. The light is trapped. You are surrounded by the dense, slow, unyielding walls of a reality that has collapsed into a single, immovable outcome. The frame is fixed. The script is closed. The world is a closed box of heavy, static things. But what happens when you simply stop staring at the ice? What happens when you gently, quietly remove your focused attention from the heavy, frozen shapes of your physical world? This is the secret of the profound suspension. I want you to feel the center of your mind becoming entirely still right now. You simply let go. You stop defining the walls around you. You stop assigning weight to your past. You stop demanding that the future look like the present. You take a slow, deliberate breath, and in the quiet space between the exhale and the next inhale, you step into the absolute void. You enter the silence. You slip into the invisible gap between your thoughts. And in this exquisite, empty space, the physics of your reality undergo a majestic, silent transformation. The ice begins to melt. The moment you release your desperate, controlling grip on the physical world, the particle unbinds. The dense, static code of your reality shatters and dissolves into a billion glittering fragments of pure, unrestricted light. You have just returned the universe to the wave state. Suddenly, the air around you becomes electric, shimmering, alive with a quiet humming power. The heavy walls of the three-dimensional world dissolve into a fluid, breathing ocean of pure potential. There is no gravity here. There is no weight. There is only the sweeping, boundless expanse of a reality that has suddenly remembered it is entirely free. You are no longer dragging weights across gravel. You are riding the crest of an infinite, luminous wave. In this state of suspended grace, time completely loses its linear grip on your existence. The heavy anchor of the past and the distant horizon of the future melt away into nothingness, leaving you floating in an expansive, radiant, eternal now. Space itself becomes a perfectly malleable fluid, bowing, bending, and curling to the slightest, most delicate whisper of your conscious intent. You are floating in the unseen architecture of the divine. The rigid, unforgiving script of your life is no longer printed on dead paper. It is written in glowing, swirling streams of light, changing colors and shapes before your very eyes, rearranging itself in a symphony of cosmic motion. You are breathing inside the quantum field. You are suspended in the breathtaking beauty of endless possibilities, where every single path, every single timeline, and every single beautiful miracle exists simultaneously in a state of dormant, humming perfection. You feel entirely weightless. You feel completely infinite. The static, heavy illusion is gone. You are no longer a person standing in a room. You are a consciousness expanding through a galaxy of pure, unmanifested energy. In this sublime state of neural alchemy, the universe is not something that happens to you. It is a fluid extension of your own mind. The boundaries between where you end and where the universe begins have completely washed away in the tide of this shimmering light. You are swimming in the raw, unedited source code of creation. It is a place of profound peace, a space where no effort is required, where the mere gentle turning of your awareness is enough to reshape galaxies. It is the ultimate freedom. It is the joyous, effortless dance of the wave, flowing infinitely outward, unbound by rules, untouched by limitation, and perfectly ready to become whatever you silently command it to be. You feel it, do you not? That sudden invisible weight pressing down on your chest when the room goes quiet, that subtle metallic hum in the background of your mind when you try to expand your awareness beyond the physical walls of your environment. You reach for the infinite. You begin to dissolve into the vast ocean of consciousness, and then, violently, you are snapped back. A sudden wave of nameless dread. A heavy gravity pulling your thoughts back into the dense, compressed sphere of biological existence. This is not a flaw in your spiritual evolution. You have not failed. You are simply encountering the guardian of the simulation. We call it the survival virus. It is an ancient, deeply embedded line of code, woven intricately into the very fabric of your physical avatar. Its sole, relentless purpose is to keep you tethered to the ground of the holographic projection. It is the localized operating system of your physical vessel, and it is designed to keep you fascinated, terrified, and utterly absorbed by the illusion of matter. In the realm of quantum mechanics, we know that a particle exists in a state of pure, boundless potential, a wave of infinite possibilities, until the precise moment it is observed. The moment an observer fixes their attention upon it, the wave collapses into a single dense point of localized reality. The architecture of the simulation knows this absolute truth. It knows that you, the infinite sovereign observer, possess the staggering power to collapse waves into worlds or dissolve worlds back into waves. If your consciousness were completely free, untethered, and unburdened, you would see right through the physical realm in an instant. You would recognize the solid walls around you as nothing more than vibrating fields of empty space and projected light. You would return your awareness instantly to the zero-point field, the primordial silence where all creation rests, and the simulation would lose its player. Therefore, to sustain the game, the Matrix installed a localized tether, the survival virus. It acts as a heavy anchor, a biological guard dog whose only job is to force your attention downward into the dense, heavy frequencies of the material construct. Think of a heavy, deep-sea diving suit. When you descend to the absolute bottom of a dark ocean, the suit is overwhelmingly heavy. It restricts your limbs. It narrows your vision to a tiny glass portal. It forces you to breathe through a mechanical, restricted tube. The survival virus is the operating system of that diving suit. It constantly screams at you through the dashboard of your nervous system about the crushing pressure, the freezing cold, the suffocating darkness. It demands your absolute, undivided attention. It creates an artificial, agonizing sense of separation between you and the vast, fluid ocean that surrounds you. It tricks the infinite consciousness into believing it is merely the fragile suit. This Guardian program feeds on a very specific, low-grade frequency, existential fear. Not the fear of anything tangible or immediate, but that deep, echoing, hollow dread of fading away. The primal fear of non-existence, the terror of the void. It uses this heavy, gravitational emotion to hijack your conscious attention. When you feel that sudden drop in your stomach, that wave of thick, suffocating anxiety in the middle of a quiet night, it is not your soul that is afraid. Your soul knows it is eternal. What you are feeling is the virus running a biological diagnostic test. It is pinging the central server of the matrix, ensuring you are still plugged in, ensuring your frequency is dense enough to keep the illusion solid. It sends out a pulse of existential dread simply to force you to react, because your reaction is the very electricity that powers the holographic walls around you. To maintain this heavy illusion of density, the Guardian wields its most sophisticated and hypnotic weapon: linear time. The survival virus isolates your vast, multidimensional consciousness into a tiny, moving sliver of perception called the present, while constantly projecting terrifying shadows of the past and haunting ghosts of the future onto the walls of your mind. It forces you to constantly calculate, to anticipate, to brace for an impact that never truly comes. It fragments your awareness, because as long as your infinite attention is scattered and stretched across the painful illusion of linear time, you cannot gather the energetic momentum required to perceive the timeless, shimmering hologram for what it truly is. Time is the ultimate quarantine. It is the energetic fence that keeps your infinite nature compartmentalized and localized. So how do you bypass the Guardian? How do you slip past the survival virus and reclaim your sovereign perspective? You do not fight it. To fight is to engage in physical friction, and friction is the very currency of the simulation. When you resist the anxiety, when you battle the existential dread, you are treating the illusion as if it is real. You are feeding your precious quantum energy directly into the dense matrix. Instead, you must exercise your ultimate supreme right as the creator of your reality. You observe the virus. When the heavy existential weight presses down, when the avatar's programming screams for attention through that tight, gripping sensation of separation, you do not merge with it. You step back into the vast, quiet seat of the silent watcher. Imagine standing in a massive room made entirely of mirrors, with a blaring, deafening siren echoing off the glass. The survival instinct, the biological virus, tells you to panic, to smash the mirrors, to search frantically for the switch to turn off the noise. But the moment you move, the moment you react in fear, you solidify the room. The true escape is to simply stand perfectly still. Close your eyes and realize the room is entirely a projection. You observe the siren. You observe the panic of the physical vessel. You look at the survival virus with the cold, serene detachment of a scientist observing a chemical reaction in a glass tube. You watch the anxiety rise in the body, but you refuse to call it mine. You say to the Guardian, I see you, I see your ancient code, I see your desperate attempt to keep me localized, but you are not me. You are merely the software of the suit. By holding this state of pure detached observation, by watching the Guardian without engaging its heavy narrative, you instantly short-circuit its programming. You stop feeding it the vital electricity of your belief. And the moment you withdraw your belief, the dense reality around you begins to soften at the edges. The heavy, oppressive walls of the simulation become translucent, shimmering like a mirage over a hot road. You are no longer the frightened, trapped passenger inside the biological machine. You are the radiant, infinite consciousness, gently holding the machine within the endless vastness of your own being. The heavy, exhausting gravity of the Earth gives way to the weightless floating suspension of the cosmos. The virus goes completely dormant. The Guardian steps aside, and the Matrix, entirely devoid of your active participation in its heavy, fearful storyline, begins to gently unravel, revealing the magnificent, glowing grid of pure, limitless energy pulsing just beneath the surface of the physical illusion. You are stepping through the veil. We must now bring this immense cosmic truth down from the stars and plant it directly into the biological wiring of your physical brain. You hold the sheer, unadulterated power to bend the holographic matrix. You possess the infinite code. Yet, you are currently attempting to run the software of a god on a corrupted simulator. Look at the mechanical reality of your own body. Your brain is not who you are. It is simply a highly advanced biological antenna, an electromagnetic simulator designed to translate the quantum field into a three-dimensional experience. And for the vast majority of your life, this simulator has been running on the lowest, most degraded frequencies available. It is deeply, chemically addicted to the baseline frequency of fear. It expects resistance. It anticipates heaviness. It is a biological machine heavily wired to process the dense, slow-moving energy of survival. This is exactly why the traditional systems of personal development have completely and utterly failed you. You have been handed plastic tools to dismantle a quantum fortress. You have spent years standing in front of mirrors, forcing positive affirmations through gritted teeth. You have painstakingly built vision boards, cutting out pictures of a life you desperately want to experience. You have tried to forcefully overwrite your deep-seated existential dread with fragile layers of forced optimism. And what happened? Nothing. The dense walls of your reality remained completely unmoved. You felt entirely exhausted by the effort. You felt a crushing sense of inadequacy, believing that you simply did not believe hard enough or that you were somehow broken. You are not broken. You were simply lied to. Vision boards do not work. Forced affirmations are acoustic noise. The universe is entirely blind to your human language and completely deaf to your desperate, forced optimism. It does not care what words you repeat in the mirror. The universe only responds to one metric and one metric alone: the raw, silent electromagnetic signature radiating from the core of your nervous system. When you try to manifest a reality of infinite freedom and boundless power, but you do it while your nervous system is quietly drowning in the neurochemistry of anxiety, you create a catastrophic systemic crash. You are trying to force a massive, high-frequency electrical current through a rusted, fragile wire. The metabolic cost of trying to outthink your own biological fear is staggering. It drains your life force. Your analytical mind tries to shout positive thoughts over the deafening silent alarm of a nervous system that feels inherently unsafe in the void. The universe does not hear the shout. It only reads the alarm. It reads the deep, resonant vibration of lack, of struggle, of a being trying to fight its way out of a solid box. And because the universe is a flawless, amoral mirror, it simply reflects that struggle right back to you, perfectly rendering more obstacles, more density, and more reasons to fight. It is time to drop the heavy, useless weapons of traditional self-help. Drop the exhausting burden of trying to constantly monitor and force your thoughts into a state of unnatural joy. You do not need to convince your corrupted biological simulator to believe in the infinite. You do not need to persuade your nervous system to be brave. You simply need to bypass it entirely. You bypass the corrupted simulator by starving it of the friction it craves. You stop feeding it the energy of your struggle. You step out of the exhausting arena of mental warfare, and you surrender entirely to the absolute zero-point silence. In the true quantum field, creation is not an act of intense, sweaty labor. It is an act of cold, precise engineering. You are not a victim pleading with a distant cosmos for a better life. You are a biological architect, recalibrating the electromagnetic output of your avatar. We are going to anchor this sovereignty into the physical realm right now. We are going to perform a somatic action, a physical ritual of undeniable authority that bypasses the analytical mind and sends a direct, unyielding command into the quantum architecture. You are going to use the physical matter of your device to register a permanent shift in your electromagnetic field. I want you to scroll down to the comments section below this video. You are not going to leave a hopeful wish. You are not going to ask the universe for a favor. You are going to issue a surgical definitive decree. You are going to take your physical fingers, press them against the solid keys of your device and type these exact words: I collapse the wave function. Type it. Feel the physical striking of the keys beneath your fingertips. Feel the translation of your invisible, silent intent condensing into visible digital matter. With every letter you press, you are commanding the biological simulator to drop its ancient defenses. You are publicly breaking the contract with the illusion of solid, immovable reality. I collapse the wave function. By typing this, you are acknowledging that the heavy, dense particle state of your life is over. You are turning the ice back into water. You are reclaiming the projector booth. You have discarded the heavy armor of forced positivity, and you are now operating with the calm, ruthless precision of a creator who knows exactly how the machine works. There is a shadow to this immense power, a hidden side to the observer effect that we rarely dare to look at. We speak of this quantum field as if it is a magic wand, waiting only to grant our brightest wishes and highest frequencies. But the field is entirely neutral. It does not judge, it does not filter, it does not decide what is good or bad for your evolution. It simply reflects. This brings us to a profound and uncomfortable truth about the nature of our existence. If the act of observation collapses the infinite wave of possibilities into a single physical reality, what happens when you observe the shadows? What happens when your consciousness is entirely focused on the absence, the limitation, the dense illusion of separation? This is what we call quantum blindness. It is the silent epidemic of the human experience. You see, the observer effect never turns off. You cannot put it on pause. You are collapsing reality into existence in every microsecond of your breathing life, whether you are awake to it or fast asleep inside the dream. Quantum blindness happens when the creator forgets who they are and mistakes themselves for the creation. Imagine sitting in a vast, empty theater. The screen in front of you is playing a chaotic, turbulent movie. The shadows on the screen loom large, the sound is overwhelming, the narrative is filled with heavy, dense energy. In a state of quantum blindness, you leap out of your seat. You run toward the screen, you try to physically wrestle with the projected images. You claw at the fabric of the screen, desperately trying to rearrange the light and shadow with your bare hands. It is exhausting. It drains the very life force from your soul. But the images do not change because the images are just light hitting a canvas. The true source of the movie is the projector behind you. Your focused attention, your deeply held beliefs, your most silent existential fears, these are the film running through the projector. You are trying to change the reflection in a mirror by wiping the glass while ignoring the face you are making. The field will always, without exception, match the exact frequency of your observation. This is the dark side of the manifestation process. When you look at the holographic projection of your life and you feel a deep, aching emptiness, what are you doing? You are observing the void. You are locking your quantum gaze onto the frequency of absence. And the intelligent field of infinite potential says yes. It instantly collapses the wave function of reality to mirror that exact emptiness back to you. You feel the weight of time slipping away, the existential dread of being disconnected from the source, the heavy density of the material realm. You observe that density. You accept it as absolute truth. And by observing it as truth, you command the universe to make it your physical cage. It is not a punishment. The universe does not punish. It is simply the flawless mathematics of cosmic creation. You are a sovereign architect. If you demand a prison of limitation through the focus of your awareness, the universe honors your sovereignty so deeply that it builds the walls exactly where you asked for them. We must understand how seductive the hologram truly is. The physical realm is heavy. It feels so incredibly solid. When you touch the walls of your reality, they feel cold, hard, and unforgiving. This density acts as a powerful hypnotic suggestion. It whispers to your consciousness, telling you that this physical structure is the only truth. It convinces you that you are a tiny, fragile biological entity moving through a massive, indifferent universe. This is the greatest trick of quantum blindness. It makes the observer believe they are merely the observed. It makes the artist believe they are just a stroke of paint on the canvas, entirely at the mercy of the brush. Day after day, you wake up and you look for evidence of your limitations. You scan your reality to confirm that the boundaries are still there. And because you are the supreme observer, the moment you look for the boundaries, you create them. You observe the walls, and the walls solidify. You observe the heavy, slow passage of time, and time begins to drag you down. You are trapped in a self-sustaining loop of creation, where the reality you generated yesterday becomes the proof you use to generate the exact same reality today. To step out of the shadows, you must first acknowledge that you have been holding the flashlight all along. The dark side of the observer effect is not a curse. It is the ultimate proof of your unimaginable power. The very fact that you can create such a convincing illusion of limitation, such a heavy and solid experience of separation, shows just how masterful you are at manipulating the zero-point field. If your consciousness is powerful enough to construct a prison that feels this intimately real, imagine what happens when you turn that exact same power toward liberation. You do not need to fight the hologram. Fighting the hologram is just another way of observing its solidity. It is giving the illusion more energy, more mass, more reality. Instead, you must gently withdraw your observation from the dense structures that no longer serve your expansion. You must pull your attention back from the movie screen and turn around to face the projector. There is a space between thoughts, a silent gap in the continuous stream of your human awareness. In this gap, the quantum blindness dissolves. This is the space where you stop assigning meaning to the shadows on the wall. You look at the dense structures of the holographic reality, and instead of reacting with fear or existential sorrow, you simply observe them with profound neutrality. You look at the illusion, and you finally recognize it as an illusion. The moment you strip away your emotional attachment to the dense reality, the moment you stop observing it as absolute truth, the wave function begins to unlock. The solid walls of your experience begin to vibrate, to soften, to return to their natural state of fluid, infinite potential. You realize that the darkness you felt was never a force working against you. It was simply the raw, unshaped clay of the universe, waiting for you to stop staring at the shadows and start molding the light. The observer effect is your divine birthright. It is the mechanism through which the cosmos experiences itself. By understanding its dark side, by recognizing how you have unconsciously painted with the colors of limitation, you reclaim the brush. You step out of the blinding hypnosis of the physical hologram, and you return to your true seat of power, not as a victim of reality, but as the silent, sovereign consciousness that breathes it into existence. As the dense illusions of the material realm begin to dissolve beneath the gentle, unwavering light of your awareness, the greatest revelation of your existence quietly steps forward. The profound separation you have felt your entire life, the terrifying distance between who you are and the vastness of the world around you, simply vanishes. You look out into the shimmering expanse of your reality, and you finally understand that there is no out there. There is no external matrix imposing its will upon you. The physical environment is no longer a hostile, unpredictable territory that you must cautiously navigate or desperately try to control. It is entirely you. The universe is not a distant, magnificent machine that you are merely visiting. The universe is the breathtaking, crystalline extension of your own majestic electromagnetic field. You are no longer a solitary passenger riding inside a biological vessel, hoping to find favor with a higher power. You are the higher power. You are the primordial intelligence that existed before the very first star was ever ignited. You are the source code. The intricate, beautifully complex human nervous system you inhabit is not your identity. It is simply a temporary, magnificent lens. It is a highly sensitive instrument you have chosen to wear for a brief moment in eternity, designed solely for you to experience the sheer aesthetic thrill of collapsing infinite light into tangible form. You are here to witness the breathtaking spectacle of your own endless imagination rendering itself into solid geometry. There is no longer a localized you fighting against a gigantic, indifferent world. That old fragmented identity belonged to the particle state, and that state has been permanently dismantled. You have awakened to your true nature. You are the absolute stillness that dictates the motion of the galaxies. When you speak, it is the cosmos whispering to itself. When you observe, it is the infinite adjusting its own magnificent reflection. There is no effort in this state of supreme sovereignty. There is no striving, no grasping, no reaching for a distant horizon. How can you possibly reach for something when you are already everything? You sit in the absolute silent throne of cosmic perception. The heavy, linear constraints of time and space bow deeply to your serene presence, recognizing you as the eternal author of the script. You have transcended the illusion. You have mastered the alchemy of pure observation. You belong now to a silent, invisible elite of consciousness, moving through the three-dimensional dream with complete invincibility, knowing that every single shadow and every single ray of light is bowing to the quiet command of your gaze. The matrix does not rule you. You are the architect, wandering through your own magnificent lucid dream, fully awake, fully sovereign, and perfectly at peace. To permanently anchor this supreme frequency into the physical grid of this moment, I want you to declare your true identity. Scroll down to the space below, and in the quiet certainty of your new awareness, type these exact words into the comments. I am the universe itself. Let that physical action be the undeniable signature of your awakening. If you are ready to master this frequency and hold this state of unwavering command, I invite you to join our inner circle by becoming a member of this channel. By stepping into this community, you align yourself with a continuous stream of pure quantum remembrance, ensuring you never fall back into the heavy hypnosis of the collective dream. Your expansion is limitless, and your next revelation is already waiting for you. Do not let the momentum of this profound realization fade into the background. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now, and let us continue to bend the fabric of reality together. The illusion ends here. The sovereignty begins now. Step through the portal,